stars were quiet that night when everything changed forever. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair aboard the Defense Station Sentinel, drinking his third cup of coffee. The station floated in the darkness between Earth and the Moon, watching over humanity's homeworld. Jake had been doing this job for 6 years now, and most nights were the same. Boring, peaceful, safe. Tonight would be different. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Lieutenant Amy Rogers from her station. Her young face showed confusion as she stared at her screens. "There are weird readings near Jupiter. Gravitational waves that don't make sense." Jake set down his coffee and walked over to her console. The numbers on the screen did look wrong. Space was bending in ways that shouldn't be possible. "Run a full diagnostic," Jake ordered. "Check if our equipment is working right." Amy's fingers flew across her keyboard. 5 minutes later, she looked up with worried eyes. "Everything checks out, sir. The readings are real. Something big is out there." Down on Earth in a mountain facility hidden beneath Colorado, Dr. Lisa Hayes was having a late dinner at her desk when the alert came through. Red lights flashed across every screen in the Global Space Defense Initiative headquarters. She dropped her sandwich and ran to the main control room. "What's happening?" she asked, her heart racing. "We've got multiple contacts," said the night shift commander. "They just appeared at the edge of our solar system. 12 ships, each one bigger than an aircraft carrier." Lisa felt her blood turn cold. She had spent her entire career studying the possibility of alien life. She had hoped when they finally came, they would be friendly. Deep down, she had always feared they wouldn't be. Admiral Henry Brooks arrived at the command center within 20 minutes. He was an old man with gray hair and hard eyes that had seen too many wars. He looked at the screens showing the alien fleet and his jaw tightened. "Distance?" he asked. "They're past Neptune, sir," someone answered. "Moving toward us at incredible speed. They'll reach Jupiter in 6 hours." "Open all communication channels," Brooks commanded. "Every frequency we have. Let's try to talk to them." The communication team worked frantically, sending messages in every language, mathematical sequences, even music. Anything to show they wanted to talk peacefully. They got an answer. The voice that came through the speakers was cold and translated by computer systems. It belonged to War Commander Velcros of the Xanthari Empire. "Primitive species of the third planet," the alien voice said. "We are the Xanthari. We have conquered 47 star systems. Your world possesses resources we require and strategic value for our expansion. You will surrender immediately. Resistance will result in total extinction." Admiral Brooks grabbed the microphone. "This is Admiral Henry Brooks of Earth's United Defense Command. We are a peaceful species, but we will defend our home. We ask that you turn back." "There is no need for violence," Velcros laughed. It was a horrible sound like metal scraping on stone. "You are primitives playing with radio waves and chemical rockets. We have weapons that can crack your planet open like an egg. You have 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. If you refuse, we will demonstrate our power. Then you will have no choice but to obey or die." The communication cut off. The command center was silent. Everyone stared at Admiral Brooks, waiting for orders. The old admiral looked at the screen showing Earth rotating peacefully below. Billions of people down there had no idea their entire civilization had just been threatened with extinction. "Get me the president," Brooks said quietly, "and contact every military commander on the planet. Tell them to initiate Protocol Olympus." Lisa Hayes felt her stomach drop. Protocol Olympus. The secret program, the one that used technology they had found in the ruins on Europa 20 years ago. The project that was supposed to save humanity if aliens ever came. Now they would find out if it was enough. The Xanthari fleet continued moving toward Earth. War Commander Velcros sat on his command throne. Satisfied. This would be easy. His scanners showed the humans had primitive satellites and a few basic space stations. They had weapons, yes, but nothing that could challenge his shields and armor. This conquest would take days, maybe a week at most. Velcros had led conquests of 40 systems. Some species surrendered immediately. Others fought briefly before being crushed. All of them learned the same lesson. The Xanthari Empire was unstoppable. These humans would learn too. To prove his point, Velcros ordered his fleet to destroy the human mining colony on Mars. It was small, automated with no people inside. But the humans would see what Xanthari weapons could do. The command was given. Energy beams shot across space, so powerful they glowed white hot. The mining colony exploded in a flash of light. Metal, rock, and machinery vaporized instantly. On Earth, everyone watched in horror as their Mars colony disappeared from their screens. "They just killed it like swatting a fly," someone whispered. Admiral Brooks didn't flinch. 72 hours, he said. "We have 72 hours to get ready. Move Protocol Olympus to full activation. I want every weapon system online. I want our stealth fighters fueled and armed. I want our defense platforms ready to fire." "Sir," Lisa Hayes said quietly, "even with everything we've built, the Xanthari have superior numbers and technology." "Can we really win?" Brooks looked at her with those hard eyes. "Dr. Hayes, humanity has been fighting wars since we learned to pick up sticks and rocks. We've fought each other in every way imaginable for thousands of years. We know warfare like these aliens never will. They think we're weak because we haven't conquered other planets. They don't understand that we've been too busy conquering each other." He pointed at the screen showing the alien fleet. "Those ships belong to an empire. They're used to species surrendering after one show of force. They've never fought someone who refuses to quit. They've never fought humans." Lisa wanted to believe him. She wanted to think that human stubbornness and fighting spirit would be enough. But she had seen the power of those alien weapons. On the Sentinel station, Jake Morrison gathered his crew. They were 30 men and women who had trained for years for a moment that might never come. Now it was here. "You all saw what happened to Mars," Jake said. "That's what we're facing. I won't lie to you. Some of us probably won't survive the next 3 days. But if we don't fight, everyone on Earth dies. Our families, our friends, everyone we love. So we're going to fight. We're going to make these aliens regret ever coming to our solar system." His crew looked scared but determined. They were ready. Around Earth and the Moon, defense platforms that had been disguised as broken satellites and space junk started powering up. Weapons that had been hidden for years came online. Stealth fighters launched from secret bases. Everything humanity had built in secret was now being revealed. The Xanthari didn't notice. They were too confident, too sure of their superiority. In the Colorado Command Center, Lisa Hayes was briefing Admiral Brooks on the weapons they had developed. "We have plasma railguns that can fire from Earth's surface into space," she explained. "They shoot solid projectiles at incredible speeds. We have EMP weapons designed to disable electronic systems. We have tactical nuclear missiles modified for space combat. And we have the stealth fighters that their sensors can't detect." "Will it be enough?" Brooks asked. "I don't know," Lisa admitted. "We've never tested these weapons against real alien technology. Everything we built was based on theories and the fragments we found on Europa. Then we're about to find out if our theories were right," Brooks said. The 72 hours passed slowly. Earth's population was told about the threat. Panic spread in some places. In others, people gathered together, determined to face whatever came with courage. Soldiers reported to their bases. Pilots climbed into their fighters. Scientists worked around the clock making last-minute improvements to weapons. Jake Morrison barely slept. He walked through the Sentinel station, checking every system twice. His hands shook slightly when he thought about what was coming, but he forced himself to stay calm. His crew needed to see their captain confident and steady. On the last day, Lisa Hayes stood in the command center staring at Earth on the main screen. Her home, where she had grown up, gone to school, fallen in love, lived her entire life. In a few hours, the battle would begin. Earth would either survive or burn. "Do you pray, Doctor?" Admiral Brooks asked, standing beside her. "I haven't in years," Lisa admitted. "But tonight I might start again." Brooks nodded. "I've been praying since this started. Not for victory, just asking that we make them pay dearly for every inch of ground, every drop of blood. If we die fighting." The 72 hours ended. The Xanthari fleet moved forward, passing Jupiter, heading straight for Earth. War Commander Velcro sat on his throne, expecting the humans to send a message of surrender any moment now. Instead, Admiral Brooks sent a different message. It was broadcast on every frequency, aimed at the approaching alien fleet. "This is Admiral Henry Brooks to the Xanthari fleet. You came to our home. You threatened our people. You gave us an ultimatum. Here is our answer. Come and take it if you can. But know this, we are humans. We don't surrender. We don't give up. We fight until we win or until there's nothing left to fight with. You wanted a demonstration of power? The alien fleet was 12 hours from Earth when Admiral Brooks gathered his top commanders for the final briefing. The room was deep underground. protected by layers of concrete and steel. On the walls hung monitors showing the approaching Zenthari ships, each one a deadly threat to everything humanity had built. "It's time to show them what we've really got," Brooks said, pressing a button on the table. A holographic image appeared, showing a strange device covered in alien symbols. 20 years ago, we found this on Europa, buried under 3 miles of ice. We've kept it secret ever since. Commander Kate Sullivan leaned forward, studying the image. She was in charge of Earth's experimental fighter squadron, the pilots who would fly the first wave of attacks. Her dark hair was pulled back tight and her green eyes were sharp and focused. "What is it?" she asked. Dr. Lisa Hayes stepped forward to explain. "It's not a weapon. It's something better. It's a quantum communication device and an energy manipulation system. We think an advanced alien civilization left it there millions of years ago. Maybe they were explorers. Maybe they were warning us. We don't know, but we've spent 2 decades studying it, learning from it." She pressed another button. New images appeared showing human-built weapons and ships. Everything we're about to use came from understanding that technology. We couldn't copy it exactly, but we learned principles. We learned how to bend energy in new ways, how to hide from sensors, how to hit harder than should be possible. Lieutenant Ben Carter, Kate's best pilot, whistled low. "So we reverse-engineered alien tech? That's pretty cool." "It's more than cool," Lisa said. "It might save our lives." General Paul Warren, who commanded Earth's ground-based defenses, spoke up. "Let's talk specifics. What weapons do we have that can hurt these aliens?" Brooks pulled up a new display. "First, plasma railguns. We have 30 installations around Earth and the Moon. They fire solid projectiles accelerated to a fraction of light speed. Each shot carries more kinetic energy than a nuclear bomb. The Zenthari shields are designed to deflect energy weapons like lasers. They're not ready for solid projectiles moving this fast." "Second," Lisa continued, "we have stealth fighters. Ben and the other pilots will fly ships that are invisible to conventional sensors. We use quantum field manipulation to bend detection waves around the hull. As far as the Zenthari know, there's nothing there." Ben grinned. "Invisible death machines. I like it." "Third," General Warren said, "EMP weapons. Electromagnetic pulse generators that can fry electronics from a distance. We're betting the aliens use similar technology to us, which means they're vulnerable to massive electrical disruption." "And fourth," Brooks said quietly, "tactical nuclear weapons modified for space combat." The room went silent. Nuclear weapons were terrifying, even to the people who controlled them. "The Zenthari have never encountered nuclear weapons," Lisa explained. "Our intelligence from their damaged probe suggests they developed fusion power very early in their history. They skipped the whole nuclear weapons phase. They don't know what atomic fission can do in terms of destruction and electromagnetic effects." Kate Sullivan stood up. "When do we launch?" 6 hours, Brooks said. "We let them get close to the Moon. We want them confident and bunched together. Then we hit them with everything at once." The meeting broke up. Commanders rushed to their posts. Kate gathered her pilots in the briefing room. There were 20 of them, the best flyers humanity had. They would be flying experimental fighters that had never been tested in real combat. "Listen up," Kate said, her voice strong and clear. "We're about to make history. First humans to fight aliens in space combat. Some of you are scared. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. But don't let it control you. Trust your training. Trust your wingmates. Trust your ships." Ben raised his hand. "Commander, what are our odds?" Kate looked at him honestly. "Bad, maybe 20% of us make it back. But if we don't do this, the odds for Earth are 0. So we fly, we fight, we make them bleed." The pilots stood and saluted. Then they headed to their fighters. On the Sentinel station, Jake Morrison was running final checks. His crew had been awake for 30 hours straight, running on coffee and adrenaline. The station's weapons were ready. Their sensors were tracking the enemy fleet. Soon they would be in range. "Captain," Amy Rogers called out, "I'm analyzing the alien formation. They're flying in a tight group, shields facing forward." "Forward shields?" Jake asked, moving to her station. "Yes, sir. It looks like their doctrine is to charge straight at enemies. Their shields are strongest in front, probably for ramming attacks or pushing through defensive fire." Jake felt a spark of hope. "So their rear sections are weaker?" "Significantly weaker according to our scans," Amy confirmed. Jake immediately sent this information to Admiral Brooks. Within minutes, it was being shared with every human commander. The Zenthari had a weakness. They could be hurt from behind. Commander Kate Sullivan received the data just as she was climbing into her fighter, the Wraith-01. The cockpit was small and cramped, filled with controls and screens. She strapped in, ran through her pre-flight checklist, and powered up the engines. "All wings report status," she said into her radio. One by one, her pilots confirmed they were ready. 20 stealth fighters armed with missiles and railguns invisible to enemy sensors. "Control, this is Shadow Leader," Kate said. "We are ready to launch." "Shadow Leader, you are cleared for launch," came Brooks's voice. "Hit them hard. Come back safe." "Will do, sir." "Shadow Squadron, launch!" The fighters shot out from their hidden base on the dark side of the moon. They flew in perfect formation, their quantum stealth systems making them vanish from all detection. They were ghosts moving through space, hunting much bigger prey. The Zenthari fleet continued forward, unaware of the invisible death approaching from multiple directions. War Commander Velcros was pleased. The humans had sent no more messages. No surrender, but also no resistance. Perhaps they were simply frozen with fear. That was common among primitives facing superior force. "Weapons range in 30 minutes, his tactical officer reported. "Good," Velcros said. "Prepare to target their major cities. We'll destroy one as an example. Then they'll surrender." He didn't see the invisible fighters moving into position behind his fleet. He didn't detect the defense platforms powering up around Earth and the moon. He didn't notice the railguns on Earth's surface tilting upward, aiming at the sky. Admiral Brooks sat in his command chair watching the countdown. 10 minutes until the trap was sprung. "All units report." "Green," someone said. "Stealth fighters in position." Another voice confirmed. "Ground batteries locked on target." "Orbital. Platforms ready to fire." Brooks took a deep breath. This was it. Humanity's moment. They either survived the next few hours or they didn't. There would be no second chances. 5 minutes, he said quietly. On the Wraith-01, Kate Sullivan watched the massive Zenthari battleship in front of her through her targeting system. It was so big she could see details on its hull. Weapons batteries, engine ports, armor plating. It looked invincible. She thought about her family on Earth, her mother and father, her younger brother, all the people down there trusting her to keep them safe. "Shadow Squadron, weapons free on my mark," she said. "Target the engines and shield generators. Make every shot count." 2 minutes, Brooks announced across all channels. Ben Carter felt his heart pounding. His hands were steady on the controls, but inside he was terrified. He was 24 years old. He had trained his whole adult life for this. Now it was real. 1 minute. Jake Morrison gripped his command chair. His station's railguns were aimed at the center of the alien formation. 50 tons of tungsten projectiles ready to fire, accelerated to impossible speeds. 30 seconds. The Zenthari fleet moved closer. Velcro smiled, thinking of the easy victory ahead. 10 seconds. All across Earth's defensive network, fingers hovered over firing buttons. Hundreds of men and women holding their breath, waiting for the word. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Fire. Fire everything. Space exploded with light and violence. The railguns fired first. Solid projectiles moving at a significant fraction of light speed shot from Earth and the moon. They crossed the distance in seconds. The Zenthari shields designed to deflect energy beams might as well have not existed. The projectiles punched through like bullets through paper. 3 Zenthari ships exploded immediately, their hulls ripped open by kinetic impacts that released the energy of multiple nuclear bombs. Atmosphere vented into space. Internal explosions tore through decks. Thousands of aliens died in the first 3 seconds. The orbital platforms opened fire next. Plasma beams and missile swarms filled the space between Earth and the approaching fleet. More Zenthari ships took hits, their shields flickering under the assault. Then Kate Sullivan's fighters struck from behind. Fox 3. "Missiles away!" she shouted, launching her payload. 20 stealth fighters fired simultaneously. Missiles streaked toward the rear sections of the Zenthari ships, hitting the weakly protected engines and power generators. Explosions bloomed across the alien fleet. Ben Carter flew his fighter through a gap between 2 enemy ships, so close he could have touched their hulls if he had reached out. His railgun fired continuously, stitching a line of destruction across one ship's engine. The Zenthari fleet scattered like a broken flock of birds, each ship desperately trying to escape the killing zone near the moon. But escape was exactly what the humans had planned for next. "Activate the drone swarms." Admiral Brooks commanded from his underground bunker. Captain Jake Morrison pressed the activation sequence on the Sentinel station. Hidden containers all around the station opened, releasing thousands of small autonomous drones. Each drone was barely bigger than a basketball, but each one carried a single tactical nuclear warhead. The drones spread out like a school of mechanical fish, hunting for targets. They flew in unpredictable patterns impossible for the Zenthari targeting computers to track effectively. Their tiny size made them hard to hit, and there were so many of them. Drones are active and seeking targets, Jake reported, watching his screens fill with green dots representing the swarm. The first drones reached the Zenthari ships. They latched onto hulls, found weak points in the armor, and detonated. The nuclear explosions in space were different from those on Earth. No mushroom clouds, no blast waves. Just intense light, heat, and most importantly, electromagnetic pulses that fried every electronic system nearby. 3 Zenthari ships went dark as the EMPs killed their systems. Lights flickered out. Engines stopped. Weapons fell silent. The ships drifted helplessly, their crews panicking inside as life support began to fail. Shadow Squadron, target the disabled ships, Commander Kate Sullivan ordered. Make sure they stay down. Her stealth fighters dove on the crippled vessels, firing missiles into critical sections. The disabled ships broke apart, adding to the growing debris field around the moon. Ben Carter's fighter was chasing a smaller Zenthari vessel that was trying to flee. The alien ship was fast, but Ben was faster. He matched its every turn, staying on its tail like a predator hunting prey. Come on, he muttered, waiting for his targeting lock to solidify. The tone sounded. Lock acquired. Gotcha, Ben said, firing his railgun. The solid projectiles tore through the alien ship's engines. It tumbled forward, dead in space. But Ben's celebration was cut short. His warning system screamed at him. 3 Zenthari fighters had broken off from the main fleet and were coming straight at him. Shadow Leader, this is Shadow 04, Ben called. I've got company. 3 enemy fighters closing fast. Help is coming, Ben, Kate replied. Just keep them busy. Ben threw his fighter into a spinning dive, dodging energy beams from the pursuing aliens. The Zenthari pilots were good, but they were used to fighting enemies they could see easily. Ben's stealth systems made him flicker in and out of their sensors. He pulled a maneuver he had practiced 1,000 times in simulation, but never tried in real combat. A full reverse thrust while spinning, making the pursuing fighters overshoot him. As they flew past, confused and trying to relocate him, Ben was suddenly behind them. His railgun spoke again. 1 alien fighter exploded, then another. The 3rd Zenthari pilot was better. He rolled away, came back around and fired. Energy beams clipped Ben's wing, sending warning lights flashing across his cockpit. I'm hit, Ben reported, fighting to keep his fighter under control. Kate Sullivan came out of nowhere, her fighter appearing like a ghost. She fired a missile at point-blank range. The last Zenthari fighter vanished in a ball of fire. I got your back, kid, Kate said. Now get your damaged bird back to base. Yes, ma'am, Ben said, limping his damaged fighter toward the moon. On Earth, General Paul Warren watched the battle from his command center. The orbital fight was going well, but he knew the Zenthari would try something desperate soon. Sure enough, his prediction came true. General, we have 6 Zenthari ships breaking away from the main fight, his tactical officer reported. They're heading straight for Earth at maximum speed. Warren's jaw tightened. They were going to try to attack the planet directly, probably targeting major cities to force a surrender. He couldn't allow that. Activate the ground laser array, he ordered. Around Earth at 12 strategic locations, massive laser installations came online. They had been built in secret, disguised as power plants and research facilities. Now they revealed their true purpose. The installations drew power directly from dedicated nuclear reactors, massive amounts of energy focused into coherent beams of light. The lasers fired upward into space, targeting the incoming Zenthari ships. The beams were invisible to the naked eye, but their effects were not. The hulls of the Zenthari ships began to glow red, then white-hot. Metal melted. Internal systems overheated. One ship's reactor breach caused a massive explosion that took out another ship flying nearby. 4 ships destroyed, the tactical officer reported. 2 are breaking off. Let them go, Warren said. They're running. That's what we want. War Commander Velcros watched his fleet being destroyed with growing horror and rage. This couldn't be happening. These humans were supposed to be primitives. How could they fight with such coordination? Such effectiveness? His tactical officer looked terrified. Commander, we've lost 60% of our fleet. Recommend immediate withdrawal. Velcros wanted to refuse. To fight to the last ship. But he hadn't survived 40 conquests by being stupid. The humans had somehow developed weapons and tactics his people had never encountered. If he stayed, his entire fleet would be destroyed. All ships fall back, he ordered bitterly. Retreat to the outer solar system. We'll regroup and wait for reinforcements. The surviving Xanthari ships broke off from the fight and accelerated away from Earth, trying to escape the deadly trap they had flown into. Admiral Brooks watched them go on his main screen. The question now was whether to let them leave or to pursue. His advisors were arguing. Let them go, Dr. Lisa Hayes said. We've won. No need to risk more lives. If we let them escape, they'll bring back a bigger fleet, General Warren countered. We should finish this now. Brooks looked at Captain Morrison's image on one of the screens. Jake, what do you think? Jake Morrison was exhausted. He had been awake for almost 2 days. His station was damaged from the battle, but he knew what had to be said. Sir, they came to our home. They tried to kill us all. If we let them go, they'll tell the rest of their empire that we're dangerous. But they'll also tell them we can be beaten with enough ships. We need to send a different message. What message? Brooks asked. That attacking Earth is a death sentence, Jake said quietly. That if you threaten us, we don't stop until the threat is eliminated. We need to make them fear us, sir. Brooks nodded slowly. Jake was right. Mercy now might be seen as weakness. The galaxy needed to learn that humanity was not prey. All ships prepare for pursuit, Brooks ordered. We're going after them. Lisa Hayes looked shocked. Admiral, we're not ready for a prolonged campaign. Our ships weren't designed for this. Then we'll make them ready, Brooks said. We adapt. It's what humans do best. Commander Kate Sullivan brought her surviving fighters back to their base for rearming and refueling. She had started the battle with 20 pilots. Only 16 had made it back. 4 empty chairs in the briefing room that would never be filled again. Ben Carter was one of the survivors, though his fighter had barely made it back. He climbed out of the cockpit, his flight suit soaked with sweat, his hands shaking from adrenaline. Good flying today, Kate said, putting a hand on his shoulder. I thought I was dead 3 times, Ben admitted. But you're not, Kate said. You survived because you're good and because you didn't give up. Now get some rest. We're going after them. We're pursuing? Ben asked, surprised. All the way to the edge of the solar system if we have to, Kate confirmed. They wanted to fight humanity. Now they're going to learn what that really means. A new ship emerged from Earth's orbit, surprising even some of the human commanders. It was the UES Retribution, Earth's first true warship. It had been under construction in a secret orbital facility, not quite finished, but desperate times called for desperate measures. Commander Ryan Hughes sat in the captain's chair looking at his bridge crew. His ship wasn't complete. Some systems were still being installed. But it had engines, weapons, and shields. That was enough. Helm, plot a course after the Xanthari fleet, Ryan ordered. Sir, we're at 70% operational capacity, his executive officer warned. Then we'll work with 70%, Ryan said. Those aliens need to learn that humans don't quit just because things are hard. Chief Engineer Diane Foster was in the engine room, pushing the reactor beyond its design specifications. The engines hummed with power, driving the ship forward. Come on, baby, she whispered to the machines around her. I know I'm asking a lot, but we need everything you've got. The ship accelerated, joining Jake Morrison's Sentinel station and the stealth fighters in pursuit of the retreating Xanthari. The chase began. The Xanthari had faster ships, but they had also taken heavy damage. Several vessels were limping along, engines damaged, systems failing. They couldn't maintain top speed. The human fleet was slower but fresh. Their ships had been designed for long-duration missions with efficient engines and good fuel capacity. They could chase for days, weeks if necessary. Commander Ryan Hughes studied the tactical plot. The Xanthari were heading for the outer solar system, probably hoping to reach a safe distance where they could open a faster-than-light portal and escape. The chase had lasted 3 weeks, and both fleets were showing the strain. The human ships pushed their engines far beyond safe limits, and the Xanthari were running on emergency power, desperate to escape. Commander Ryan Hughes barely slept anymore. He walked the corridors of the UES Retribution at all hours, checking on his crew, making sure everyone was holding together. The ship shook constantly from the overstressed engines, and warning lights flickered on every deck. "How much longer can we keep this up?" he asked Chief Engineer Diane Foster during one of his inspections. Diane wiped grease from her hands, looking exhausted but determined. "The engines can take it for maybe another week. After that, we'll need to shut down for repairs or risk a complete breakdown. But sir, I think we can last longer than they can." "What makes you say that?" Ryan asked. "Because we're used to machines breaking down," Diane said with a tired smile. "We've been fixing things with duct tape and spare parts our whole lives. These aliens, I bet they've never had a ship fail on them. They're not ready for equipment to just stop working." Ryan hoped she was right. The Xanthari were faster, but the humans were more stubborn. It was turning into a contest of will, and humanity had plenty of that. On the Sentinel station, Captain Jake Morrison rotated his crew in shifts. 4 hours of work, 4 hours of sleep, repeat. It was brutal, but it kept everyone functional. Barely. Lieutenant Amy Rogers looked like she hadn't slept properly in days, which was true. But she never missed a detail on her sensor screens. "Captain, I'm picking up something interesting," she reported. "The Xanthari fleet is spreading out. Their formation is getting sloppy." Jake studied the tactical display. Amy was right. The tight military formation from the start of the battle was gone. Now the alien ships were scattered across thousands of miles, each one trying to escape on its own. "They're panicking," Jake realized. "Their discipline is breaking down." He immediately sent this information to Admiral Brooks and Commander Hughes. The Xanthari were making mistakes, and humans were experts at exploiting mistakes. Commander Kate Sullivan was flying patrol with her remaining stealth fighters when the order came through. The Xanthari were scattered and vulnerable. Time to make them pay. "Shadow Squadron, we're going hunting," she announced to her pilots. "Pick your targets and make them count." Ben Carter, now fully recovered from his earlier damage and flying a new fighter, felt his pulse quicken. 3 weeks of chasing had been frustrating. Now they could fight again. The stealth fighters spread out, each one stalking a different Xanthari ship. They were invisible ghosts in the darkness of space, death approaching on silent wings. Ben locked onto a medium-sized Xanthari cruiser that had fallen behind the main group. The ship was clearly damaged, moving slower than the others. It was alone and vulnerable. He armed his missiles and prepared to fire. But then something on his scanner made him pause. The ship's shields were down. Its weapons were offline. It was drifting, barely under power. "Shadow Leader, this is Shadow 04, Ben called. "My target appears to be disabled. No shields, no weapons. Should I still engage?" There was a pause. Kate Sullivan was wrestling with the same question Ben was. These aliens had come to destroy Earth. They had killed humans without mercy. Did they deserve any? "Negative, Shadow 04, Kate finally said. "That ship is no longer a threat. Focus on ships that can still fight." "Copy that," Ben said, feeling relieved. He was a warrior, not a murderer. He moved on to find a target that could shoot back. But not all the human commanders were so merciful. General Paul Warren, watching from Earth, had a different perspective. He had seen the destruction of the Mars colony. He had buried friends who died in the initial battle. He wanted every alien ship destroyed. "All units, fire on any Xanthari vessel in range," Warren ordered. No exceptions. Admiral Brooks immediately countermanded the order. "Negative. We only engage ships that pose a threat. We're not monsters, Paul. We fight to protect, not to slaughter." Warren wanted to argue, but he knew Brooks was right. They had to be better than the Xanthari, or they would become the very thing they were fighting against. War Commander Velcros was in his command chamber, staring at the tactical display with hollow eyes. His mighty fleet of 200 ships had been reduced to 43, more than 3/4 destroyed or disabled. It was the worst defeat in Xanthari history. "Commander, we're approaching the outer system," his navigator reported. "We can open a portal to faster-than-light space once we reach the designated coordinates." "How long?" Velcros demanded. 6 hours at current speed. 6 hours. Velcros looked at his remaining ships. Many were damaged and barely keeping up. The humans were closing in. Could they last 6 more hours? He had to try. "All ships maintain course and speed. We're almost safe." But Commander Ryan Hughes had no intention of letting them escape. He studied his tactical plot and made a decision. "Helm, I want you to push the engines to 110%, Ryan ordered. His executive officer looked shocked. "Sir, that's redline. We could lose the entire propulsion system. The Xanthari are 6 hours from escape," Ryan said. "If we don't catch them in the next 4 hours, they're gone. Push the engines." Diane Foster, down in engineering, heard the order and closed her eyes briefly. Then she started adjusting controls, feeding more power to the engines than they were ever designed to handle. "If we survive this, you owe me a vacation," she muttered. The Retribution surged forward, closing the distance to the Xanthari fleet. The entire ship vibrated from the strain, and alarms wailed throughout the vessel. But they were catching up. Jake Morrison's Sentinel station couldn't match that speed, but it was still in the fight. Jake focused on picking off the slowest Xanthari ships, the ones falling behind. His railguns fired methodically, each shot carefully aimed. One by one, the stragglers fell. The Xanthari saw the human flagship gaining on them and panicked even more. Several ships broke formation completely, trying to run in different directions. It was chaos. Kate Sullivan's fighters dove into the confusion, targeting ships that had separated from the group. Ben Carter found himself in a running dogfight with 2 Xanthari fighters that had turned to make a desperate stand. The alien pilots were skilled, but they were also exhausted and afraid. Ben kept his cool, using his fighters' superior maneuverability to outfly them. One Xanthari fighter tried a risky head-on pass. Ben's railgun destroyed it. The second fighter tried to run. Ben chased it down and disabled its engines with a precise shot. The alien fighter drifted away, helpless. "Another one down," Ben reported, breathing hard. Near Neptune, the final confrontation was approaching. War Commander Velcros realized he couldn't outrun the humans anymore. He had to fight or die running. At least if he fought, he might kill some of them before the end. "All ships form a battle line," Velcros ordered. "We make our stand here." His remaining ships, 43 vessels against Earth's dozen, turned to face their pursuers. It should have been an easy victory for the Xanthari, but they were damaged, demoralized, and exhausted. The humans were wounded too, but they had something the Xanthari didn't: the knowledge that they were protecting their home. "They're turning to fight," Amy Rogers reported from the Sentinel. "Good," Jake Morrison said grimly. "Let's finish this." The 2 fleets closed on each other. Commander Ryan Hughes stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the range counter tick down. "All weapons prepare to fire," he ordered. "Target their flagship. If we kill their leader, the rest might surrender." "Missiles locked," his tactical officer confirmed. "Fire." The Retribution unleashed everything it had: missiles, railgun projectiles, energy beams, everything. The barrage crossed the distance between the 2 fleets in seconds. Velcro saw death coming and knew it was over. His flagship's shields had been damaged for days. They held for almost 3 seconds against the human assault. Then they failed. The missiles struck first, blowing holes in the hull. Then the railgun projectiles punched through, tearing through deck after deck. Finally, the energy beams cut into the ship's reactor. War Commander Velcros had one last thought before his ship exploded. These humans were nothing like the species he had conquered before. They were something new and terrifying. They were persistence predators, and they never gave up. The flagship's destruction was the breaking point. The remaining Xanthari ships, seeing their commander dead, lost all cohesion. Some tried to surrender. Others tried to flee. A few fought to the death. The battle became a slaughter. Human ships picked off the Xanthari one by one. Kate Sullivan's fighters hunted down those trying to escape. Jake Morrison's railguns found target after target. It took 4 hours to finish. When it was over, only 3 Xanthari ships managed to escape into faster-than-light travel. The rest were destroyed or captured. The humans had won, but the cost had been high. The Retribution's engines finally gave out, leaving the ship drifting on emergency power. The Sentinel station had taken several direct hits and was barely functional. Half of Kate's fighter squadron was gone. Commander Ryan Hughes sat in his damaged command chair, looking at the casualty reports. 2,000 dead across the entire fleet. 2,000 people who would never go home. Was it worth it? His executive officer asked quietly. Ryan looked at Earth on his main screen, a blue dot in the distance. Still. 6 months had passed since the last Xanthari ship was destroyed near Neptune. Earth was slowly healing from the scars of war, but everyone knew the peace was temporary. Dr. Lisa Hayes stood in her laboratory, surrounded by recovered Xanthari technology. The wreckage from the destroyed ships had provided a treasure of information about their civilization. What she had discovered kept her awake at night. Admiral Henry Brooks entered the lab looking older than he had before the war. The stress of commanding Earth's defense had aged him years in just months. "You said you found something important," Brooks said. Getting straight to business. Lisa pulled up a holographic display showing a star map. "This is the Zenthari Empire, 47 star systems, all connected by their faster-than-light network. Their territory is massive, sir. They have hundreds of worlds and a population in the trillions." Brooks studied the map grimly. "And we bloodied their nose. They won't forgive that." "Maybe not," Lisa said. "But I found something else that might help us understand them better." She pulled up biological data on the Zenthari. "Look at this. Their evolutionary history. They're herbivores, sir. Plant eaters. They evolved as herd animals on their homeworld. So?" Brooks asked. "So they never developed predator instincts," Lisa explained. "They built their civilization through cooperation and technology, not through hunting and fighting. When they encountered other species in space, they conquered through overwhelming force and numbers. They've never faced real tactical opposition, because most species they meet are like them, peaceful herbivores who surrender quickly." Brooks began to understand. "But humans are different." "Exactly," Lisa said. "We're apex predators. We evolved hunting prey across long distances. We developed binocular vision for tracking. We learned to coordinate in packs. We spent millions of years learning how to kill efficiently. Every war in human history has taught us new ways to fight." The Zenthari encountered something they've never seen before, a predator species with advanced technology. That's why they were so shocked by our tactics, Brooks realized. Yes. To them, warfare was about having bigger weapons and more ships. They never developed real strategy because they never needed it. We taught them that strategy matters, that tactics matter. That will matters. Brooks sat down heavily. The question is, what do they do with that lesson? Do they learn to fear us, or do they learn to fight like us? Before Lisa could answer, an alarm sounded. Both of them rushed to the command center. Captain Jake Morrison's face appeared on the main screen, calling from the rebuilt Sentinel station. "Admiral, we have incoming signals from the outer system. 3 ships just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." "The survivors," Brooks said. "They made it home and came back. Do we scramble our fighters?" Jake asked. Brooks almost gave the order, but then paused. "What's the content of their broadcast?" Jake looked surprised by the question, then checked his console. "They're asking for permission to approach Earth. They're saying they come in peace and wish to talk. They're requesting a meeting." Brooks and Lisa exchanged glances. This was the moment. Or peace. Everything depended on what happened next. "Grant them permission to approach, but keep all weapons trained on them," Brooks ordered. "If they make any hostile moves, destroy them." "Jake, I'm coming up to the Sentinel. We'll meet them in person." 2 days later, the Zenthari delegation arrived at the Sentinel station. 3 ships, small and unarmed. They docked carefully, following all the instructions the humans gave them. Jake Morrison stood in the docking bay with a security team, watching as the airlock opened. The first alien to step through was tall and thin, with gray skin and large eyes. It moved carefully, clearly nervous. "I am Ambassador Krell of the Zenthari Empire," the alien said through a translation device. "I come to speak on behalf of the High Council." "I'm Captain Jake Morrison," Jake replied. "Welcome to the Sentinel, though you'll forgive me if the welcome isn't warm. Your people tried to destroy my world." Krell lowered his head. "We know. We came to apologize and to beg for peace." Jake hadn't expected that. He led the delegation to a conference room where Admiral Brooks, Dr. Hayes, and other Earth officials waited. The meeting was tense. The Zenthari sat on one side of the table, the humans on the other. Krell began to speak, and his words were translated into English. "6 months ago, War Commander Velcros led a fleet to conquer your world," Krell said. "He believed you were primitives who would surrender easily. He was wrong, and he paid for his mistake with his life and the lives of thousands of our people." "You attacked us without provocation," Brooks said coldly. "You destroyed our Mars colony. You threatened to kill billions. Why should we believe you want peace now?" "Because we're terrified of you," Krell said honestly. "The 3 ships that escaped brought back recordings of the battle. Our military analysts studied them. Our High Council watched them. We realized something that changed everything we thought we knew about the universe." "What's that?" Lisa asked. Krell looked at her with those large eyes. That not all intelligent species are like us. We evolved avoiding predators, learning to work together to survive. We built our empire by overwhelming others with technology. We never learned to truly fight because we never needed to. Your species is different. You're hunters. You think like predators. You fight with a ferocity and cunning we cannot match. He pulled up a holographic display showing the Battle of Luna. Look at this. You turned your disadvantages into advantages. You used stealth when you had fewer ships. You targeted our weaknesses when we were stronger. You adapted in the middle of combat. You never gave up even when the odds were against you. Krell zoomed in on the final battle near Neptune. And here, when we tried to flee, you pursued us across your entire solar system. You hunted us like prey. Our ships were faster, but you were more determined. You pushed your vessels beyond safe limits. You sacrificed your own comfort and safety to chase us. This is what predators do. This is what we never learned. The room was silent. The humans hadn't thought about it that way. They had just done what seemed natural, what seemed necessary to protect their home. So what do you want? Brooks asked. Peace, Krell said simply. A treaty between Earth and the Xanthari Empire. A promise that we will never threaten your world again. In return, we ask that you don't pursue us to our territory. And if we refuse? Brooks asked. Krell looked afraid. Then we prepare for war. We will build more ships. We will study your tactics. We will try to learn to fight like you do. It will take years, maybe decades. Many will die on both sides, but the High Council has decided they would rather face extinction than live in fear of attack. Brooks leaned back in his chair. Let me make something clear, Ambassador. Earth doesn't want war. We never did. We're explorers and dreamers. We love science and art and music. But we will defend ourselves with everything we have. We will fight with a ferocity that will shock you, because that's what predators do when threatened. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at Earth in the distance. But we're also capable of mercy. We can be your friends or your enemies. The choice is yours. Krell stood as well. We choose friendship. We choose peace. Over the next 3 months, a treaty was negotiated. The Xanthari agreed to share their faster-than-light technology with Earth. In return, Earth would teach the Xanthari about tactics and strategy, helping them defend against truly hostile species in the galaxy. Trade routes were established. Cultural exchanges began. Slowly, cautiously, 2 very different species started to understand each other. Ambassador Claire Watson became Earth's first representative to the Xanthari Empire. She traveled aboard one of their ships to their homeworld, where she met with the High Council. Your species fascinates us, one of the council members told her. You're dangerous, but you're also generous. You're fierce, but you're also kind. How do you balance these contradictions? Claire smiled. We've been asking ourselves that question for thousands of years. I think the answer is that we're both. We can be the best or the worst, depending on how we're treated. You tried to destroy us, so you saw our worst. Now you're trying to befriend us, so you'll see our best. Back on Earth, life slowly returned to normal. Captain Jake Morrison retired from military service and became a teacher, training the next generation of space defenders. He made sure they learned not just how to fight, but why to fight and when to show mercy. Dr. Lisa Hayes continued her research, now with access to Xanthari technology and knowledge. The combination of human and alien science led to breakthroughs that benefited both species. Commander Kate Sullivan and Lieutenant Ben Carter became instructors at the new Space Defense Academy. They taught pilots not just the technical skills of flying, but the courage to face impossible odds and the wisdom to know when fighting wasn't necessary. Commander Ryan Hughes oversaw the construction of Earth's new fleet. 20 ships at first, then 50, then 100. Earth was building a navy that could defend not just their home system, but also help protect their new allies. Admiral Henry Brooks retired 2 years after the war, satisfied that Earth was safe. At his retirement ceremony, he gave a speech that was broadcast across Earth and to the Xanthari Empire. We proved something important in this war, Brooks said. We proved